Hi there, welcome back to my Python programming tutorial series. I am Sanam Ran, and in the last video we were discussing our variables and data types in Python. Today we will look more into them and also look how comments and operations work in Python. So stay tuned for the detailed covering of our topics. So in the last video we discussed how we define our variables in Python. So in Python we saw in the last video that we do not require any data types to be mentioned while defining or initializing our variables. We just have to write variable name and then assign it a value to initialize a variable. Also, we cannot initialize our variables just without any value. We must pass some value to our variable. For example, if I have to create a test variable with the name test and I want to keep it an integer type, I wouldn't mention the data type name here, but I have to initially assign it some value which is an integer to make it an integer value. So in this way, I have created an integer variable. Similarly, for any kind of variable, for any data type, I have to give some value of that data type to create a variable of that data type. So in this way, we created our some of the variables with these data types as integer, float, string, boolean, list, set, tuple, and dictionaries. And then we saw in the last video that how can we check the data type of a variable. For that, we used a Python built-in function, which is type. This type function helps us to check the data type of a variable. For example, here we can add chunk of code as I created a test variable in previous block here. And now I will run this cell to save this variable. And here, for checking the data type of this variable, I have to use Python built-in function type and pass my variable name um, in this function as a parameter, and then I have to run this. And here I can see the output as int. In Python, you will also see that if you just write a variable name which you defined before at the end of a block and just run this code, it will display the value of that variable. So the value I defined in test was 0. So here its value is outputted as 0. So this was our variables and their data types. Next, let's see. Here some I have shown an example of print statements, print function, different practices for print function. Um, I created two variables of string type. One is name and one is program. And I want to print some message using these variables. So I have passed these variables along with some other strings as parameters inside this print function. And I have written here it is a bad practice. Why? It's because in Python, when we pass different variables in which we can pass any type of variables along with strings, the result will be uh, as concatenating all these parameters and their values with a single blank space in between them. But as you can see, after printing the value of program variable, I want to print a full stop. But in Python, print function, if I pass this program and this full stop as separate variables, as separate parameters, here I can see a blank space, and I don't want this. For that, the best practice, a good practice, is if I use this formatter f, as I discussed in previous video, and then after that, I just have to pass the variable names inside these curly braces, and along with the string whatever I have to write within the values of these variables, and it depends on me how much blank space I want to give in these. If I want to two blank spaces here and single blank space here and no blank space here, it is all depends on me. It is a personalized feature where I can write this output of my choice. So this printf, so this f formatter inside this print function helps me to write an appropriate message as I want. Also, here I wrote this empty print function. What does this do? This displays an empty line here. It helps us to create a space and formatting for our output. Also, you can see I can also change whatever I have to pass separately. For example, this parameter of Python print function helps me to separate two parameters with anything I want. If I want a static between all these parameters, it will print it as this. You can see this was my name value, Sana. Then this is my string, and between Sana and the string there is a static. After that, after that, between is studying and program value, which is tsmp, there is a static, and between program and this full stop there is a static. So each parameter is separated by this symbol I have displayed here. And by default, the value of sep parameter is a blank space. And there is another parameter of print function which has a default value of next line. And what does this parameter do? This parameter says that this print function will at the end print a single line. Print a single line or move the cursor to the next line. So by default, its value is backspace, and which moves the cursor to the next line, and that's why each print function displays its output in a separate line. But if I change it here and I change here with a two blank spaces, now you will see that the output of this print function and this print function will be displayed in a single line. Now let's see. Here you can see, and you can easily see that there is a space of two tab spaces, two blank spaces as I enter here. Now moving to the next concept, which is Python comments. Comments are a part of every programming language, and there are two types of comments in every programming language. These comments help us to improve the code's readability, help others to understand our code's logic and functionality, whatever we have defined, and we can easily track for what purposes we created a function or a variable, and we can understand the code, dry run the code, test it, and it also helps us to debug and fix the code. It helps us to track logical errors and so on. Comments are not included in the executed part of code passed to the interpreter, so it doesn't contain any specific syntax for a programming language other than the symbols for initializing or enclosing comments. So for initializing and enclosing comments, we have here for a single line comment, we started with a hash symbol, and for multi-line comment, we enclose it within a pair of three single quotation marks or double quotation marks. So here you can see examples. This is a single line comment, and this is a multi-line comment, and it can span on multiple lines. And here is the same code as I wrote above for defining various variables and also printing their um, types and values. And here I have used comments to explain my code. Integer variable with a comment explaining its purpose. So I have written here various comments for you to help to understand what I'm doing here and here and here and here. What is the purpose of this variable? It is helping me to store a person's name. Here, what is this boolean variable doing? It is helping me to indicate whether something is active or not, and so on. Here, I can also use these comments to display what will be the output of this line, what will be the output of this line, what will it print, what will this print. And I can also exactly write my output here, what is being what will be printed after executing this chunk of code. So comments help us a lot to track and dry run. Further, we will see Python operations. There are different kinds of operations, operators in Python. Arithmetic operators include all the arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Then integer division, and then modulus, and then exponents. So here you can see plus for addition, minus for subtraction, static for multiplication, forward slash for division, double forward slash for integer division. Integer division helps us return the value before the decimal. It helps us if we divide two numbers and the result comes in floating point. So integer division helps us returns us the value of that floating point value before the decimal point. Modulus returns us the remainder value of a division, and double static. Double static uh, helps us to multiply a number with some power and exponentially execute a number. Then we have logical operators that are and or not. And you know the purpose of and, or, and not. And helps us to and operator returns 1 only if both of the inputs are 1, otherwise 0. Or operator returns us 0 only if uh, both of inputs are 0, otherwise it returns us 1. And not helps us to negate a value. Bitwise operators are used in several operations while in tracking operating systems. Assignment operators help us to assign values and to increment, decrement values, to also for performing arithmetic operations and then assigning their values in one go. It also helps us to use bitwise operators and save their values. So assignment operators, as the name refers, helps us to assign the values. Comparison operators help us to compare two values, as the name refers. Identity operators help us to help us to identify if uh, um, if an object belongs to a class or not. Membership operator helps us to track if a value belongs to a list or a tuple or a specific data structure or not. So here are some examples for arithmetic operators. You can see here we have used two variables, assigned them some values, and then performed some arithmetic operations on them, and then here we are printing their values with appropriate messages. Then here we have comparison operators. For these also we have to define two variables, and then we have compared them and stored their values. Here we are comparing two variables, and then we are assigning the result to this variable which is equal to. Also here, if we are comparing if value of x is not equal to y, either it will be true or false. So that true or false will be assigned or saved as a value to this variable, not equal to. Here we are checking if the value of x is greater than y, the result of this operation will be assigned to, using equal to operator, to the greater than variable. Similarly, its result will be stored in this variable, and so on. And then I have written here print statements to print the values of all these variables. Here for logical operations, I have initialized two variables p and q with boolean values true and false. And here we have examples for and, or, and not operations. And the result of these operations will be stored in these variables here. And then we are printing the values of these variables. Similarly, assignment operators are here. What these are doing, these are getting assigned some values after some operations, as was done above. Here we also did the same. We are performing some operation and then assigning the value to this variable. And in all these examples, we were doing the same. In all these examples, we were doing the same. In all these examples, we were doing the same. And here we have just written it in short form, which is equivalent to m equals to m plus 5. M plus equals to 5 equals to m equals to m plus 5. M minus equals to 2 is the same as m equals to m minus 2. It means the previous value of m, 5 will be added to the previous value of m, and whatever will be the result, which is 15, will be assigned to m, which will be the new value of m. Now 2 will be subtracted from this previous value of m, which was 15. 15 minus 2 will be 13. A new value will be stored in this m, assigned to this m. Now, in the next step, 3 is being multiplied by to the previous value of m, which was 13. 3 multiplied by 13, which is 39, is the new value of m. Now, here, the previous value of m, which was 39, is being divided by 2, which will be, I guess, 18.5. Yeah, 18.5 will be the new value of m. So after assignment operators, here the latest value of m will be printed. So what is it? Is it 18.5 or oh sorry, 19.5. Yeah, 19.5 was the new value, and it is, you can see here. After that, the bitwise operations, you can see examples of bitwise operations. We have taken two variables n and o, and we are storing the result of n and o in this bitwise and then printing the bitwise and result. 10 and 15. What is the result of 10 and 15? It is 0. Okay. 10 or 0. Oh, sorry, 10 or 5. The result is 15. 10 XOR 5. It is 15. And not n. Negation of n is minus 11. So, actually, the bitwise operators work on the binary values of these numbers. The binary value of 10, which is 1010, and 5 is 010, 1. So after performing the AND or XOR and NOT operations on those binary values of these variables, the results are then converted again into this the decimal numbers and are displayed here. So this was it until this part of the video. Hope you like it and enjoyed. Keep following for the next parts of my video. Until then, stay tuned and goodbye. Allah Hafiz.